Good morning and welcome to another episode of Unscripted and Unchained. I am DM Bloodworth, and as you can tell, this is a continuation of the RPGaDay 2018 series of questions. So I decided in my last video that I was going to do these in segments, not one per day, but break them down into their certain issues or content categories. And so we're still on the what questions, and I'm going to deal with questions 4 and 5. So these would have been for today as day 4. Tomorrow would be day 5. So today's question is, what is the most memorable NPC that I can recall? And then what day 5 would be, what was my favorite recurring NPC? So in my case, they're both one and the same, so it makes sense for me to put together, these two questions into one. And it's not an NPC of my own creation or an NPC that was in a video game or a purchased module or anything like that. The NPC that is most memorable for me was an NPC that my dungeon master at the time, Adam, created, and he created this character influenced strongly by the quasi deity article in the Dragon magazine. So from best that I can recall. And I did a little bit of research that looks like it was in the 1983 Dragon magazine number 71. So the character that he created was he created a demon lord that was ejected from the abyss. All right, so he was thrown out, and he was thrown out for the reason that he was actually closer to being neutral evil rather than chaotic evil, and so he was running into a lot of different conflicts back in the abyss, which is not unheard of, but the point was that he had gotten fed up with it, and he had a long name, so a very demonic kind of name that would be like impossible to say, but we had condensed his name down to Esteban. So Esteban was a human form demonic figure thrown out of the abyss, and he ended up on the prime material plane because he was not able to move on to any of the other, planes that he was looking to go to. I mean, he would have, potentially tried to go and go to the 9 planes of hell, but they were going to reject him because he was not lawful evil enough. So he ended up on the prime material plane, and he kind of became like he filled in the role of the dungeon master, if you will, in our game world. So he was kind of like the embodiment of the dungeon master, and he was like a quest giver, and he kind of, we got the sense as we played, and he was, recurring enough that he was, he lasted in that campaign. That campaign lasted probably about 5 or 6 years. And so he was around for, virtually all of that time. So I have some background noise. So he was our quest giver. And even though he was evil, he was not moving our characters in a necessarily, evil, in an evil way. He was certainly moving us in a way that was going to advance what his potential was, or what he was hoping to achieve. And rather than just giving him the stats of an archfiend, or whatever they used to be called in first edition Dungeons and Dragons, he was a quasi deity. And during all of the years that we played through that campaign, I think I saw his character sheet maybe once, and he was certainly lesser than a lesser god, but certainly, I would say he was even higher than a demigod at that point as well. So he did definitely progress and become more powerful over time as our characters became, our character group became more powerful. By the time that we were into the mid-teens in level, he was certainly at demigod level, or even possibly higher than that. Because there was a few occasions where he was actually in action, and we can tell by how the combat was going, his abilities and everything, and so it was pretty clear that he was there. Now he was at that level. Now why he's my favorite was because, number one, it wasn't a character that I created, so it was it was our friend had created, and this was a creation of someone who was I'd say an 83, probably a 15, 16-year old, created this character, and was running this campaign. And like I said, it was a long-lasting campaign. Our campaign ran from the time that we were probably 12 or 13 years old, all the way up until we were 17 or 18. So it was a long-lasting campaign. And the fact that we had these characters, throughout much of that experience. I know I had my character, which was a halfling thief. He was the longest lasting of all the characters. The others, they just died off over the course of our adventures. Tomb of Horrors being, probably the most, the greatest catalyst of our parties, our original party's demise. But and my character basically survived that because of this NPC, having stepped in and pulling my character out of that place. And then we made a return trip, and finally, defeated the obstacles in that, the demi-leash in that dungeon adventure. So that's pretty much, that's my most memorable NPC. That's my favorite reoccurring NPC. If I had to think of an NPC that I've created, and it really wasn't so much an NPC as this character was like a secondary character that I was playing along, sometimes as a player, and sometimes using her as an NPC, and that was a thief, an elven thief that I played, or she might have been a half elven thief at the time, and she was probably my most. Her name was either Astra Morgan, or yeah, I think it was Astra Morgan, and she was greedy as hell, and she was really conniving, and had like very callous towards the rest of the group. So, she was another, but she was not like a reoccurring character. She had only probably survived one adventure as an NPC, and I might have played her about three adventures before she herself got killed off. So getting killed in our campaigns was not very uncommon. The fact that we had reoccurring NPCs was also a rare thing because the party makeup had changed fairly often. So so that's pretty much it. I mean, that's for days 4 and 5 of RPG-A-Day 2018. Uh, if you're new to the channel, I welcome you to subscribe. And if you subscribe, please make sure that you hit the alert bell so that you'll get alerts when I post new videos. I'm going to have a couple more videos coming up actually today because I'm going to be away the rest of the weekend. So I want to get a couple videos put out there today. And please leave your comments. Comments are best because they give me the opportunity to, first of all, to see, to look you up and see if you have a YouTube channel that I can also, follow along. Everyone that follows my YouTube channel, everyone that subscribes will, get my subscription on their YouTube channel in return. I believe in reciprocity. I believe in supporting those that support me. And so leaving your comments are also very important because it gives me an idea of what content you would like to see in the future, what interests you have, and if we have similar interests, then I can always throw up additional videos specifically to those interests. If you're involved in a Kickstarter, if you're running your own Kickstarter, or you know of a Kickstarter that's RPG related that you think I might want to take a look at, please leave a link or leave the name of it so I can look it up. And if it's something that I ultimately choose to follow, and once I receive generally the physical copy of the RPG, I will put up I'll put up a video, both supporting it and giving it praises, because I don't throw my money at projects that it's very, very rare that I actually throw money down on something that I regret. And so most of the times, if I'm going to back something, it's something that I'm certainly willing to put my name on it and say this is something that I recommend you giving a try. And so that's the last point as far as backing the channel, and share. Actually, that's the last point. Make sure you share the videos that you think you want your friends to take a look at. The more, the merrier. And like I said, the more people that are following a channel, and this goes for your channels as well. The more people that are following a channel, the more ideas and the exchange of ideas that we can have. All right, you all have a good weekend, and I look forward to seeing you on the gaming screen sometime in the near future.